Neuroscientists recently discovered something that the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. When the human brain is exposed to total silence for just 2 minutes, it generates more new brain cells than any meditation app, any motivational speech, or any productivity hack ever created. 2 minutes. But here is what the scientists did not expect. Most people in the study could not do it. Not because of noise around them. Because of the noise inside them. And right now, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. When was the last time you sat in complete silence, and did not reach for your phone? I am going to show you what the Stoics discovered about silence that modern science is only now beginning to understand. And by the end of this video, you will never think about silence the same way again. Stay with me. This one is different. Welcome to Memento Sapiens, ancient wisdom for the modern mind. Today we explore something no one is talking about in the world of Stoic philosophy, the science and the art of deliberate silence. Not the silence of emptiness. Not the silence of defeat. The silence of the warrior. The silence of the thinker. The silence that Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all practiced, and that each of them described as the single most powerful weapon available to a human being. This is the Stoic Science of Silence. Lesson 1. Silence is not empty. It is the most productive state your brain can enter. In 2013, neuroscientist Im Kirst at Duke University discovered something extraordinary. When mice were exposed to 2 hours of silence per day, their brains generated new cells in the hippocampus, the region responsible for memory, learning, and emotional regulation. The noise was not just distracting. It was physically preventing the brain from rebuilding itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He was not being poetic. He was describing a biological reality that science would not confirm for 2,000 years. Every time you fill your silence with noise, music, podcasts, scrolling, background television, you are not relaxing your brain. You are denying it the one thing it needs most to grow. The Stoics did not fear silence. They hunted it. And what they found inside it changed everything. Lesson 2. The Stoics used silence as a weapon, not a retreat. Most people think of silence as passive. The Stoics thought of it as aggressive. Epictetus taught his students something radical. The more you practice silence, the more powerful your words become. Think about the people in your life who speak the most. Are they the ones you respect most? Or is it the person who speaks rarely, but when they do, everyone listens? Silence in conversation is not weakness. It is dominance. Marcus Aurelius rarely raised his voice in the Senate. He did not need to. His silence communicated what words could not, that he had already considered every argument, and found them insufficient. Modern psychology calls this strategic silence. The Stoics called it wisdom. The next time someone tries to provoke you with an insult, a criticism, a manipulation, try something the Stoics practiced daily. Say nothing. Not because you have nothing to say, but because your silence will say everything they need to hear. And it will cost them far more than any response you could give. And now, what the scientists did not expect. I told you at the beginning that most people in the silence study could not complete it. Not because of external noise. Because of internal noise. The researchers discovered something disturbing. When placed in a silent room, most participants began to experience their own unprocessed thoughts, fears they had been avoiding, regrets they had been running from, truths they had been drowning out with distraction. The silence did not create the discomfort. It revealed it. Seneca wrote, "Retire into yourself as much as possible. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those who you are capable of improving." The process is a mutual one. He understood that the noise we surround ourselves with is not accidental. It is protective. We are afraid of what we will find in the silence, so we fill it. But the Stoics taught that what you find in the silence is not your enemy. It is your truth. And your truth, no matter how uncomfortable, is the only foundation on which a strong life can be built. The question is not whether you can handle the silence. The question is whether you can afford not to. Lesson 4. The Stoic practice of deliberate silence and how to use it today. The Stoics did not simply wait for silence to appear. They created it. Deliberately. Daily. With discipline. Here is the exact practice in 3 steps. Step 1, the silent morning. Before you speak to anyone, before you check any screen, sit in silence for 5 minutes. Not to meditate. Not to breathe deeply. Simply to exist without input. Let your brain process what it accumulated while you slept. The Stoics called this morning council a private meeting with your own mind. Step 2, the silent response. The next time someone says something that triggers you, an accusation, a criticism, a provocation, count to 10 before responding. Not to calm down. To think. In those 10 seconds, ask yourself, is my response going to advance my values, or simply my ego? Marcus Aurelius almost always chose the former. Step 3, the silent review. At the end of each day, sit in silence for 5 minutes and review what happened. Not what others did. What you did. Where you spoke when silence would have served better. Where you reacted when stillness was the answer. 5 minutes in the morning. 10 seconds in conflict. 5 minutes at night. That is the complete Stoic practice of silence. Simple. Precise. Devastating in its effectiveness. Lesson 5. In a world that rewards noise, silence is the ultimate act of rebellion. We live in a world that mistakes volume for value. The loudest voice gets the most attention. The most active feed gets the most followers. The person who talks the most is assumed to know the most. The Stoics would find this civilization deeply confused. Because they understood something that we have forgotten, the depth of a person is not measured by how much they say. It is measured by how much they have considered before they speak. Marcus Aurelius spent 20 years as Emperor of Rome. He wrote the Meditations entirely for himself, never intending them to be published. They were his private silence, translated into words. He did not need the world to hear his thoughts. He needed to hear them himself. In a world that is screaming for your attention every second of every day, choosing silence is not weakness. It is the most radical, most powerful, most stoic thing you can do. Go find your silence. What you discover there will change everything. 5 lessons from 2,000 years of Stoic silence. Silence is not empty, it is where your brain rebuilds itself. Silence is a weapon, not a retreat. The noise you surround yourself with is hiding something. Find out what. 5 minutes. 10 seconds. 5 minutes. The complete Stoic practice. In a world of noise, silence is rebellion. I want to leave you with one final thought. Right now, after this video ends, before you click on the next one, before you check your messages, before you reach for anything, sit in silence for 60 seconds. Just 60 seconds. And notice what comes up. That is where your real work begins. If this gave you something to think about, share it with someone who lives in too much noise. Subscribe to Memento Sapiens. Every week, ancient wisdom for the life you are actually living. Remember to be wise. Memento Sapiens.